Good morning. We're live at Civil Defense. There is a public briefing that should be happening now. Thank you, Chalu. Thank you very much. I'll sign you in. Good morning. We're live at Civil Defense for the 10 a.m. briefing. I'm just going to sign in.
There you go. Hey, John. Hey.
Oh, thank you. You first, Cello. You have the camera.
Stairs.
Yep. Work connection. Morning. Thank you. We're going to enter the Emergency Operations Center. Morning. What's up, guys? Hey, Leo. Hi, Joe.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Jess. How's it going?
Sorry.
Hi, Jenna. Thank you. Sorry. We're so fucking loud. Sorry. Everyone, this is Jenna. Say hi, Jenna. Hey, Jason.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, my name is Maria Romolo. I'm the EOC manager and Housing Section Chief for this incident. I just want to let you guys know that the bathrooms are located on this side. You can also go to the front. If in case of an emergency, please don't use the elevator. Please use the stairs to go upstairs, to go to the lobby, to go to the all clear area. Again, as our Civil Defense Administrator Charles Estevez said, please save your questions to the end after the media leaves the room. Okay, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Chip Garrett.
That's all for Maria. So, anyway, buenos Don Half a Day. Okay, so here we go. Another storm. Hagibis. So, anyway, Hagibis was upgraded to a typhoon early this morning, and it's moving in a general westerly direction. This was this morning's picture. You can see the visible satellite on this side, the infrared satellite on that side. So the sun's got, this was taken as the sun was coming up. So we're watching another area out here and another area out here. So this is the infrared picture earlier, and this is the color infrared. And somewhere in that blob there is where the eye of the typhoon is. And so if you look at this picture here, the bright reds are the really heavy rain. And the greens are light rain, the yellows are moderate rain, and the blues, of course, are the ocean. And this is the water vapor, and this gives us an idea how complicated the atmosphere is. So the whites represent really a lot of moisture, so heavy rain, and the blacks represent very dry air, so the air is sinking. The key thing about this is there's a trough out here, and as the storm moves through, it's going to start turning more to the north and then up to the northeast. So again, we're watching areas out here and out here. And this was from last night's scatterometer data. That's a satellite that can look down and send some energy down and look at the backscatter and determine the winds and the wind direction and speed over large swaths of the ocean. So the storm was centered in there, but you can see most of the heavy winds are on the east side. Mostly that's going to be a problem for the CNMI and not so much for us. And here's the track, the latest track this morning at 7 a.m. And you can see that it's moving pretty much in this direction. Now, it's moving right across Anatahan volcano, which is a great place for it to move. Nobody lives there. And it keeps the typhoon force winds away from Saipan and away from Alamagan Island. The trouble is, the islands are oriented this direction. The storm's moving perpendicular, and it's moving at a fast pace. So what's going to happen is any little jog, any little change in the direction of the storm is going to have a major effect on the kinds of winds that places can affect. Not so much for us, but more for the Northern Mariana Islands. But you can see we're right on the edge of the damaging winds. So this is what we're keeping a close watch on. For us, this is the uncertainty. Because this is very narrow, and it's very narrow because the storm is moving at a pretty rapid speed. When they move fast like that, it minimizes the amount of erratic movement that it can go through. So 70% of the time, the track's gonna end up in that white area. But that means 30% of the time it could end up outside that white area. And this morning, the storm was at 7 a.m. was located at 15.1 north latitude, 150.3 longitude, about 390 miles east-northeast of Guam, and about 350 miles east-northeast of Rota, and about 315 east of Tinian, and 305 miles east of Saipan. Come on in. Come on in. Okay. So anyway, current movement is toward the west-northwest, about 285 degrees at 16 miles per hour. Yesterday afternoon, we noted that it was moving toward the southwest. And of course, Manghut moved toward the southwest and actually came across Rota. So we're watching it very closely, and then early this morning, it started to resume a more of a west and then west-northwest direction. So, excuse me, that was good news for us. We just have to make sure it maintains that course. Current winds are 75 miles per hour with gusts to 90 miles per hour. This is an intensity. When they get to be around 75 miles per hour to about 100 miles per hour, 110 miles per hour, that's optimal for rapid intensification. So that's something we're going to be watching. And rapid intensification means that they're going to intensify at a much faster rate than normal. So we've seen some storms do that. Whoopin. We saw Wutip do that. We saw U2 do that. We even saw Sodalor do that. So it's not uncommon out here. Damaging winds right now, we're projected later this morning 185 miles for the damaging winds. Those are 39 mile per hour winds. Destructive winds over the 58 mile per hour winds out to 115 miles. And then typhoon winds 35 miles. CPA, closest point of approach early Tuesday morning is a Category 2 typhoon. Maybe somewhere between 50 and 60 miles north of Saipan. Of course, if the storm rapidly intensifies, it could even become a Category 4 typhoon as it passes through the area. Onset of 39 mile per hour winds for us early Tuesday morning, and the onset time of 58 mile per hour winds. We don't expect any destructive winds or typhoon force winds here. Max sustained winds predicted for Saipan and Tinian are 65 to 75 miles per hour. And late Monday to early Tuesday, and then for Rota, about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So this is the wind. This is from one of the tools that we have, and this tool shows the changes in wind speed direction every hour. It also shows how far away the damaging winds are how far away destructive winds are, how far away the typhoon force winds are in the eye. But this, for us, it's showing that around 1 o'clock in the morning until about 7 o'clock Tuesday morning, we could experience these damaging winds. However, it's looking at maybe 40, 41 miles per hour, so it's right on the edge of damaging winds.
That's a lot of people.
Probably don't want to shut down the entire island for something that's quite that close for such a short period of time, but we'll make that decision. We'll make the decision whether we want to go to a warning later on this afternoon, and of course the governor will make the decision whether they go to different cores as she sees fit. So anyway, this is the Guam wind, and if we look at Saipan, you can see right now just a few hours of the destructive winds. Last night they were in the typhoon force winds, so just a little wobble will change the track enough to keep them to put them in typhoon force winds. So they're in a typhoon warning. Tinian, Saipan, and the northern islands. There's Rhoda. So Rhoda's winds, they're in a tropical storm warning, and they're going to get from 9 tonight till 10 tomorrow morning. So they're going to be expecting damaging winds for a significantly longer period than we will. The seas out there, 14 to 16 foot in the open ocean. Of course, they could be up around 25 or 30 feet around the storm. We're looking for 14 to 15 foot surf, 1 to 2 feet of inundation on the windward coast. Dangerous rip currents. These are a place like Gun Beach where the reef is very narrow. When the reef is very shallow, boy, you can get sucked out of there really fast. So high tide information, 2.1 feet around 4:30 this afternoon, and then tomorrow morning around 2:26 in the morning, and tomorrow afternoon around 5:12. We always plan for high tide. If it happens to hit a low tide, that's great. We can thank God because it'll cause much less inundation. Precipitation for Saipan and Tinian, we're looking for 7 to 9 inches. For us, probably 3 to 5 inches. Of course, we can expect more if the storm moves farther south or slows down, and less if the storm moves farther north or speeds up. We put out a hydrologic outlook a couple of days ago for this rain event. Now we have probably going to issue flash flood watches this afternoon, and at least for Rhoda, Tinian, and Saipan, and a warning later on tonight. We may handle Guam with an urban small stream flood advisory, but we'll be monitoring the radar, and if the radar indicates that we're going to see some really heavy rain, then we'll go ahead and issue a flash flood warning. Currently, Guam's in tropical storm watch. Core 4, as far as I know. Tinian, Saipan, Pog, and Alamagan are in a typhoon warning. They're going to go to Core 1 sometime this morning. Agregan and Rhoda are in tropical storm warning, and they're in Core 2. They'll go to tropical storm Core 1 later on. Recommendations: monitor typhoon track intensity characteristic. Guam's in a tropical storm watch. Core 3 was delayed last night, and we might not go to Core 3. We might, or they might decide to go to Core 3 and not go to Core 2. But we're leaning against not putting up a tropical storm warning. So if the thing continues to move away from us, then we won't, because it's so close to the edge that you know it would disrupt a lot of the island. So we'll reevaluate the need for tropical storm warning this afternoon, since those winds aren't predicted to pick up until after midnight anyway. We got some time to play with. Tropical storm category B winds on Guam. We expect 35 to 45. We probably should plan for category a stronger category B, which would be 50 to 73 miles per hour. And then for Saipan and Tinian, right now they expect something like this. We would tell them to prepare for 75 to about 90 mile per hour winds. And the typhoon is expected to be category 2. We categorize storms according to the kinds of damage they do. Category 1 is the lowest category. Category 5 is the strongest category. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I would say, so category 1 is like from 75 to 95 miles per hour. Category 2 is 96 to 110 miles per hour. Category 3 is maybe 111 to 130 miles per hour. Category 4, 131 to 160 miles, 156 miles per hour. And category 5 is above 156 miles per hour. So that's kind of the way it works. And each one of these does certain kinds of damage. So the category 5 can do as much damage as all the other categories put together. So. Worst conditions, early Tuesday morning, keep alert for changes in southwest movement. More rapid movement, more rapid intensification. We're going to be updating our warnings every 3 hours. So remember, the information we put out is perishable. Things change. So make sure you check things out every 3 hours, and then once we get within radar range, we'll be putting out positions about every hour. That's about it. Any questions? Hold your questions. And I'll be out there with the media in just a few minutes. So, sure.
Do you want me to get the mic?
Huh?
Do you want me to get the mic?
Yes.
Chief, you want me to get the mic? Sure.
All right, guys, so that concludes the briefing portion. Now we've got some Q&A time, so if you guys have any questions that you would like about the status of water.
We are going to ask a bunch of questions. It looks like someone is... Hold on.
We're going to head right back out to near the elevator.
Okay.
And we'll be able to interview them.
About what is expected with the typhoon now new as...
Jenna, are we able to ask you some questions as well? Okay, thank you, thank you.
And chip guard as well.
Okay. So no word as of yet whether the governor will place the island in condition of readiness 2, which would trigger a whole bunch of things, including the opening of shelters. According to that presentation, the governor put off calling condition of readiness 3 last night. That is news. There's a whole lot of wobbling. There are some changes that might happen with this storm, but the good news is, at least for now, and Chip Guard said that the information is perishable, meaning it can change at any point. But the good news is, for now, that this thing looks like it's tracking more to the north. But he made it a good point to say that that information can change at any time, so please pay attention to the news. He just said that there will be rapid intensification in the situation that we're in, with winds between 75 and 100 miles per hour maximum sustained. It gives the storm an opportunity to intensify rapidly. And so we're looking, Saipan is looking at, oh, here's Chip.
Making himself all presentable for the guest, like he needs to do that. Chip, good morning to you, my friend.
Yep, good morning.
All right. Half a day.
Half a day, total moment.
Okay, so thanks again for the wonderful presentation. It's been an interesting time, and again, the meaning of the name of the storm in, as we now know, thanks to our friend Wikipedia, in Tagalog means swift or velocity. Normally we have like 3 or 4 days, like usually when storms are coming out. This thing literally just like came on everybody's radar like in the last like what, 30 hours?
Well, we've been monitoring this area out, even out toward the dayline. It's been very slow to develop, and so yeah, just in the last few days it's started to develop. So we issued a special weather statement about 3 days ago, and so it's over the course of 3 or 4 days it's intensified. But it started developing fairly close to us. We're tied to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center's numbering system. So until they put out a bulletin on it, we have to handle things with a special weather statement. But they've done a really good job, and the models have been pretty consistent the last couple of days on the track. So we're most concerned about the possibility of it rapidly intensifying. You know, the Mariana Islands are oriented northeast-southwest. So the storm is moving at a fairly rapid pace, about 16 miles per hour. So, and it's moving fairly much perpendicular to the island chain. So any small movement can make a big change in the winds over a specific location, especially like Saipan and Tinian or Alamagan Island up in the Northern Marianas. It's not going to affect us too much, but it could be the difference between not having any damaging winds on us and putting us in the middle of damaging winds.
Is the behavior of the storm thus far, is that kind of like indicative of what you guys are seeing on a more macro level for this year, you know, with the storm season being what it is? And, you know, I mean, like you said, the storm's moving very, very quickly. Not so much erratic movement and everything like that, but is this kind of telling about what storms we might see this year?
Yeah, well, we haven't had very many storms this year. And so in July, we put out the tropical cyclone predictions for the rest of the year, and we indicated we expect to see a concentration in October, November, and December. So unfortunately, this isn't disappointing us, and we could see several other storms before the end of the year is over.
Chip, when do we expect the onset of the kind of winds and rains that would affect people who live in substandard homes on Guam?
Well, probably after midnight.
After midnight tonight.
Yeah, after midnight tonight, and they're going to be marginal. So I'm not sure that we're going to issue a warning yet. So we'll check it out. But you know, if it's going to be 40 miles an hour, or 39 or 40 miles an hour instead of 38 miles an hour, we're probably not going to go to a warning.
And by no means are we out of the woods, because you said we might expect like 3 to 4 inches of rain, which for our friends in the southern part of the island could still prove to be somewhat problematic.
Yeah, no, rain could be a problem, and I doubt a storm surge is going to be a big problem. But you know, if people get in the water and they get sucked out into the ocean because of strong rip currents, there's going to be big waves out there, and that could be a problem.
You were talking about an area near Gun Beach.
Yeah, Gun Beach is a very narrow reef, and it's a very shallow reef. And so when we get a northwest wind or swell that comes in, it spills a lot of water over the reef, and the water's got to empty it back out into the ocean. So the currents are very strong, and if you get caught in that current, you don't have much time to escape the rip of the grip. And if you don't escape the grip of the rip, you're not going to avoid the grief of the reef.
Any other areas?
Very nice. And I didn't know you were a poet.
I'm sorry?
Any other areas people should avoid?
Well, you know, Runau is another one. Retidian Point is another one. These are dangerous areas because not only are they, the reefs are narrow and shallow, but they're very isolated. So people go out there, and if nobody can go for help, then you're in dire needs, really.
Would you be able to speculate at all, because assuming that we stay on maybe Core 4 or Core 3, there's going to be a lot of people out on the roads, and especially if they say, you know, you probably should stock up on batteries and fill your water bottles and gas your vehicles, and we know the drill.
Yeah.
But what are driving conditions projected to be like?
Well, driving conditions are going to be poor when there's a heavy rain, but the heavy rains will come and go. Not any worse than when we're driving through thunderstorms here on the island, probably. So people just have to slow down and you know, and be careful out there, because now there will be some areas that are flooded, and we have another saying. We do have sayings, and one of our sayings is "Turn around, don't drown." So if you see water running in, you know, across the road down at Pago River, you know, do not cross that river. Probably out of Polaris Point, we expect flooding out there. It's not usually the kind of flooding that's going to damage your car or cause a lot of destruction, but it is the kind of that may cause your car to stop running, and you have to stay there. And so these are areas you already know where the major flooding areas are going to be. Down at the Barcenas area in Marito, you know.
Oh yeah.
You can expect these normal areas to be flooded, you know, when you get a storm like this.
Well, I like that. Those of us who work in computer science tend to use acronyms. You meteorologists use rhymes, so very nice.
Yeah, we use rhymes.
What kind of weather are we looking at this afternoon?
Well, I think we'll see increasing amount of shower activity. You know, one of my big concerns is lightning. There's been a lot of lightning overnight. Usually over the oceans, we see things develop overnight. So I'm thinking tonight probably be the worst conditions tonight in terms of both the winds, the rainfall, and the lightning activity. So sometime tonight between 10 and early morning hours. Things are starting to calm down a little in these rain bands, so we might not see so much rain during the day today, but tonight it should pick up.
Do you have any caution for our viewers or our audience for how uncertain things are over the next 24 hours?
Well, what's uncertain is whether this storm is going to rapidly intensify, and that means that it could, instead of being a Category 2 typhoon that we expect to come through with maybe 110 mile per hour winds, it could be a Category 4 with 150 mile per hour winds.
Wow.
So if that were the case, it's going to expand the wind field, affect people more in Saipan and Tinian, but eventually that wind field is going to expand to encompass us as well.
As the nature of the storm right now as it stands, is it more wet or is it more windy or a combination of the two?
I would say that it's probably more wet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's moving at such a fast clip that that's going to move through at a rapid pace as well. So the faster the storm moves through, the better off we are in terms of rainfall, in terms of in the intensification rate. There's a lot of reasons why we like it to get out of here.
So at this time, you don't recommend the governor to change the condition of readiness?
Well, you know, we're right on the edge. We're right on the edge, and you know, we base our decisions on the meteorology. But the governor, she has a lot of other things to be concerned with, and so she has to assess all of these different things that she weighs. So I see no problem with us being in a tropical storm warning and the island not being in another condition of readiness than they're in. So we'll certainly let them know if we think there's a risk out there. Any other questions?
All right, thanks so
Thank
much.
you, Chip.
Well done as always.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we interview you, Jenna?
Nice to meet you. I'll see you around.
We're going to interview Jenna Blas next. Thank you, Chip. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Yeah, we can go in here.
Another room.
Isn't she so pretty? Look how pretty she is.
Oh my God.
Jenna started working at Homeland Security during the Calvo administration.
I did. I actually first started working with you.
Yes,
When you were there.
yes, and I will, and Jenna will probably not say it, will probably not confirm it right here because she's very much a professional, and I am not. Is that no one in the Joint Information Center, while it was activated, liked me at all. we had a great team, but I was extremely temperamental.
You weren't mean to me, were you?
Maybe only once when I was mean to everybody at the same time, but not specifically you. Do we want to invite anyone else in, or no? Okay, so Jenna, we're good. We all heard a lot about the uncertainty of the storm and the what ifs and the risks involved with the storm moving off of its track, either just slightly to the south or slightly to the north, and what that might mean for Guam and the other islands. But specifically for Guam, how likely is it that the governor is going to ask us to prepare sooner by declaring the island in condition of readiness too?
Asking to prepare, you know, our office has been pushing out a lot of messaging regarding, just from Homeland Security alone, have been pushing out messaging regarding preparedness for a few days now. We
Okay.
hope that, you know, the community will take those, and I know that you have been helping us by getting that message out as well. So really, the changes in conditions of readiness shouldn't warrant when people take action.
Okay.
We've really been asking the community to take action as early as 2 days ago. At least start stocking up on your emergency preparedness kit, gassing your vehicles. I know that I just spoke to some of our coworkers who said on their lunch break, we're going to go gas our vehicles now. You really want to take action now when the weather's clear. So really a change in condition of readiness again, those decisions are made at a higher level above mine, but again, it's with guidance with National Weather Service. I know you just received a brief from Chip Guard, who did say that they might not need to switch to a tropical storm warning. So there are a lot of different factors that go into play, but again, preparedness shouldn't happen just in a change of condition of readiness.
One of the factors involved in the condition of readiness, too, is all the triggers, legal triggers that happen, which include shutting down the government of Guam and opening up emergency shelters, right? Does the government of Guam have enough time before the onset of rains that are hazardous to people who live in substandard homes and would have to drive or be driven to one of the shelters? Is there enough time for that to happen before things get dangerous?
Enough time, but fortunately, Department of Education, including Department of Public Works, we've been working together with our office as well as the administration as early as this morning, with a meeting this morning, meeting late last night. So there are definitely plans in place to take action if there is a need. Again, the decision point will probably be made later on this afternoon. I know that there's going to be another update from National Weather Service. Chip Guard did brief us this morning. The governor was there as well, that another update will be given at 12 p.m. This is also in partnership with our partners from Joint Region Marianas. There are a lot of discussions that we have with them. But fortunately, Department of Education are on standby. They have identified a few of their shelters, which are normal emergency shelters that are utilized for Tier 1 operations, emergency operations. So those schools are already identified, and the shelter managers are aware that if need be, they're able to prepare.
I'm glad you brought up Joint Region, because that was the next place I was going to go. So one of the things that a Core 3 would activate would be at least a partial activation of the Emergency Operations Center and full activation of the Joint Information Center, right? So without the change in that core, how is coordination with our military partners with regards to joint information, also with regard to emergency operations?
Right, so fortunately, activation of the EOC or the JIC, the Emergency Operations Center, or the Joint Information Center is not needed for coordination. We coordinate with our partners even before activation of the EOC or the JIC. I've been in coordination with communications with Joint Region Marianas. We also have our partners sitting in these briefs, as well as this morning we had Captain Shawley actually attend the brief with the governor. So that coordination is already ongoing without the activation of the Emergency Operations Center or the JIC.
Christian from Public Affairs at Joint Region this morning told me that they have been moving some smaller assets. Has the military upgraded its condition of readiness?
So my understanding is they have not, but again, I won't be able to speak on behalf of the military.
Okay, and that would be another issue with there not being a Joint Information Center, right?
Well, I'm surprised to hear that, Christian. My understanding is they have not changed course.
Okay. So, well, maybe we can ask Christian what happens, what their protocol is about the movement of assets and things like that. So we are expecting some sort of decision from the governor maybe later this afternoon?
Again, it's based off of the guidance that she received from our office, Guam Homeland Security Civil Defense, along with National Weather Service. So we're monitoring the storm. We'll know more by 12 p.m. We'll know more as the hours go by.
I don't envy the job that you have, because this is everyone should know that this is Jenna probably didn't sleep.
Oh no,
she's probably not going to sleep tonight.
A whole team,
She's very magnanimous. George Delgado Nation says, "You so pretty."
I know him actually.
Okay, so hi George. She says, so we'll know more soon. The governor is taking in everything that she needs, all the information she needs to take in from all her advisors and from National Weather Service and Civil Defense to make the proper decisions and to help us. Anything, first, before I ask you to explain to people how they can prepare, can you tell us about any concerns that there are regarding price gouging before any emergency declaration or core change happens?
I know that the Office of the Attorney General, they do have standardized statement, at least for condition of readiness too. So at this time, we haven't received any statement from them regarding price gouging, but I know that there are plans in place once there is a change in condition of readiness too.
Okay, and lastly, can you tell our audience how they can prepare?
Sure, so we have been promoting preparedness for a few days now. Some of the main ways that you can is prepare your emergency preparedness kit. That's really just stocking up on non-perishable food items, water, flashlights, batteries, all of those basic necessities you would need. And the idea behind an emergency kit is making sure that you're able to self-sustain for at least 3 to 7 days. In the event of a huge catastrophic event, not talking about this one, but in the event, emergency response personnel are going to be inundated, so it's important for the community to be as prepared as possible. Just my mother as an example, I ask her, where's your emergency kit? and she opens up her cabinet, there's all your canned goods. That's not the idea. You really want to gather all that material into one location, make sure everyone in your family knows exactly where it is. Another way you can prepare now is gas your vehicles. Don't wait until the weather deteriorates or until it starts to get a lot rainier. Of course, when the weather starts to deteriorate, we want people to stay off the roadways if need be. So gas your vehicles, get gas for your generators. Another way you could prepare is picking up loose debris or even some heavier items. We did put out an advisory to secure your canopies, trampolines, really anything that can be airborne and heavier winds. So just some basic preparedness activities. You can also find out more information on our website at ghs.guam.gov. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can always call our office, 475-9600. We can give you more information that way as well.
Thank you so much, Jenna. Thank you
you
very much.
Thank you.
So we're going to continue live because we need to go find someone from the Mayor's Council regarding a separate issue. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How does that work? I've never done that before. Hi, Chucky. What's going on? It's my friend.
Half a day. Yes, Guam.
I never met you. I'm Jenna. Eric.
For real? You guys never met?
I never met you.
Oh.
By the time you were here, I think I was already stuck in
Is there a Mayor's person?
Yeah.
I was a PNC for a long time.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Troy, did you do something else?
Someone, Angel Sablan.
Okay, you ready to coordinate with them?
No.
I think Angel left, but his rack might be here.
Sorry, Troy,
Oh,
so
no,
meeting,
I
did you
can't.
want to stay here?
Yeah. No problem.
But I did want to point out though that we do have 24/7 half a day. We do have 24/7 coordination without the activation of the Emergency Operations Center, and that is our 24/7 watch, which is in this office right here.
That's at 475-9600.
Yeah, exactly that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Chuck Estevez, Administrator of Civil
My
Defense.
boss.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Thank you very much,
Thank
Jenna.
you.
We very much appreciate it.
Thank you,
Aren't they good looking? They're very good looking people, right? Okay.
You don't want to take the elevator?
Oh, the elevator. Okay, guys. The elevator is going to cut us off.
For lobby.
So we love you very much. We'll have a written statement or a written story about this as soon as we get back to the office. Bye.